Hello, everyone. So you'll notice that Janelle's not here today. So we are discussing all sorts of things without her. Jimmy's not here today because she's off also at Leaders. So that means those of us that are here are going to talk about the last section of the level 2 information. So we're going to talk about the beliefs that help a leader move up to level 3 and a guide to growing through level 2. So we've talked the last couple of weeks about level 2, that permission level, that level where many of us that get attracted to network marketing, attracted to this business, are really connected to people. We're looking to help people. We're interested in people. And so we find learning level 2, perhaps a bit of a stretch in our comfort zone, but it's not a huge stretch. As we move to learn those best practices of level 3, some of us find that that's where our big stretch occurs. It's also where jewels happen. Learning the really best practices of level 3, using those best practices in level 2 and level 1. That's what moves us to that next level, that jewel income, that increased value to our team, to those around us, all of the things. So starting, we're page 122. And the first sort of area that we get into here is it says relationships are not enough. And I'm going to invite Leona to just share a little bit about what she was thinking as she started reading this section and what ideas that brought to her mind.
Yeah, I actually really had some things that challenged me in this section. It's only like a couple of pages, but there were some things in here that I don't know if you want to see my book, but it's pretty marked up. I don't know if you can see anything, but just some challenging things. And I think I knew these things, but you know, when you have to sort of read it point blank, that it really makes a difference and you really see it. So the first thing I underlined was the question now is, what are you going to do with that influence? True leadership takes people somewhere so that they can accomplish something. So as leaders, we're taking people so that they can accomplish something, right? It's not just what am I doing for me as a leader, right? What are my goals? What are that? No, this is about my people. It's taking them. That's what makes a true leader, is seeing your people achieving something, right? And then that means connecting people's potential to their performance. So that is, yeah, that there's some challenging things as we continue to talk about this, but yeah, relationships alone are not enough. And I kind of like to hang out in the relationship zone because that's where I'm comfortable. I'm not as comfortable pushing someone to grow in something that they're not comfortable with. But that's what this whole section is about. It's about finding the potential. It's about realizing their dreams and really encouraging them to fulfill the dreams that they have, right? The next said building relationships require twofold growth. And that was really interesting as well, because you're growing together. So it's more than just a relationship where you get together and chit chat about surface things. This is now an intentional relationship where the two of you, or whatever, but if you think about one-on-one, the two of you decide to work together to both grow together. Both grow together, not I'm going to grow this way and it doesn't matter what you do down here, right? It's about growing together. So that means that's like, well, it's compared to like a marriage, you know. It's not maybe that intense, but I think there are some great comparisons in there, right? If you don't grow together, you may grow apart, right? So if you're not growing at the same, if you don't have the same commitment, or yeah, then that's where we see someone continue to grow and someone not, right? I don't know. Am I speaking to anybody? Am I?
Oh, I think that's really good, Leona. And the conversation, connecting it to a marriage, I think is really important, because leadership is not one direction.
Yeah.
It's not all I tell you. I've just been listening to a book about listening. Like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness. Being open to hearing the things that you have different beliefs about, and actually engaging in that conversation with curiosity as a way of respecting wherever the other person is at. That's where the work begins.
Mhm. I agree, because sometimes we have people with us that we have no idea who they are. They are brand new friends, and it is, you have to get to know each other, right? And then it's compatibility and intentionality. Those were the two words I underlined as well. So you have to work. You have to decide you want to make this work, right? And yeah, and like a marriage too, that's a decision. Do you want to make this work, right? What are we going to do to make this work so that we can both grow together? Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Leona. And in that first part, when it talks about connecting people's potential to their performance, and in my experience, we often don't see our own potential. And
Mhm.
if we don't see our own potential, it's really hard to see other people's potential. And it's even harder then to help them develop it, because we haven't, if we don't see our own and see ways to develop it, it's like trying to teach somebody something you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So just thinking about those pieces, I just kind of invite people to say, who do you know, or who do you watch that you can see is doing these things? I mean, maybe it's a faith leader, maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's but who do you watch that is sort of exemplifying with this intentionality that Leona mentioned, that connecting people's potential and that growing toward?
You are a great example, Sherry.
I agree.
Yeah.
So who else can you think of?
Kids coaches.
Yeah, kids coaches.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That's a really good example. Coaches who see in a kid what the kid doesn't see in themselves yet, helps them to develop those skills,
Yeah.
to
Or
build
those,
their confidence.
yeah, or those players who are just so eager to learn and to grow, right? Who just soak up the coach's instruction and guidance, right? Who are just so eager for that. Yeah. It's a great
That's
example.
a really good example. When I think about most of the diamonds that I see that are visible, and there's lots of diamonds that we never see and don't know at all, but the diamonds that I see that are visible, when you're with them, you feel good. they have that way of seeing you and being able to sort of transmit that energy that you have value and that you're a contributor and that you have more to give.
Yeah, I think Eva's a great example of that, particularly.
Mhm.
Yeah, spending the weekend with her at the Ruby retreat was, yeah, she's an incredible leader for all of us in that way.
And I just to speak about Eva, she doesn't need the spotlight. She doesn't look for the spotlight. She doesn't look for the stage. She gives people around her the stage.
Mm.
She's like that mom that we all
Mhm.
those warm arms, that grandma, maybe that warm base of support that's just there.
Yeah, and literally, like, she'll seek you out in, if you're alone somewhere, she'll come seek you out and just be with you, right? Like, and so that's a piece of that, just connection, right? That desire to, feed into you, right? And tell you that you matter and she cares about you, right? Without even necessarily having to say anything.
Well, exactly. I mean, and that's a great example at Ruby Retreat. I remember her just walking up behind me and putting her hand on my shoulder and just giving me a little smile and just kind of being there for a few minutes and then moving on. Like,
yeah, she's very intentional. Yeah, very intentional. So that's a good example for us.
Yeah, that's a great, and it makes me think about moms, and I see moms often, and there's lots of moms feel overwhelmed, but I often see moms doing some small intentional thing with one of their kids, whether they've got one or five, but doing something for one because it's about one.
Yeah.
It's really about one.
Yeah.
Which, who can you help today? Who can you connect with today? Who can you give that word of support to today?
Yeah. Take them each out on a date or whatever, right? Like, that's what I like to do with my kids too. Yeah. Just that one-on-one, because they get lost in the big family life, right? And the busy and right. So that's a good, I like that too. It's a good example.
So then going into the bottom of page 123, the third one on the beliefs that help a leader move up is achieving the vision as a team is worth risking the relationships. And this is where things got difficult for me in reading this section.
Me too.
Because I don't ever want to risk the relationship. And so I find the difficult conversations hard to have. But to help people grow as a leader, you need to be able to support people in that conversation. He says, if achieving the vision is worth building the team, it is also worth risking the relationship. And it's like you need to take people out of their comfort zone. They might fail, they might implode, they might relieve their own tension by fighting you or quitting you. Risk always changes relationships. If you risk and win, your people gain confidence. You have shared history that makes the relationship stronger. Trust increases. If you risk and fail, you lose relational credibility with your people and you have to rebuild relationships. And I think I've mentioned it before, but I am so grateful when I have somebody on my team who's willing to say to me something about what I've done that they've interpreted as negative for them. And what it does for me is it helps me stop and think about my intention in the process and how I was supporting whichever person it was. And in some cases, it may be that I have not recognized the level that this person had come to. When we've talked about leadership, and John Maxwell talks about it, it's management, you try to treat everybody the same. Leadership, you go to where people are to bring them up. And sometimes we see a situation and we think, and it's the same with our kids, we don't treat them all the same. We go to where they are and we bring them up. But your kids can say, well, she got that and I didn't. And they're like, you don't love me anymore, Mom. And if you guys haven't heard it, I've heard it lots. So, but that whole concept of recognizing that when someone feels that way, I've missed the mark on getting to where they are and helping support them. Not that I'm saying it's my fault, because the reality is we choose how we feel by our thoughts, but recognizing that I've missed supporting somebody, or perhaps even having the conversation that would help them work through that. So like the kid that says, they got that and I didn't, why is that? The conversation is necessary for them to understand that they're in different places, have different needs, and are doing different things. And they actually don't want everything that that other person is doing or receiving or being expected.
Mhm. Yeah, this is this was very challenging for me too, because I always value the relationship too. So I'm just trying to digest everything you said there, Sherry, too. So the one thing that I had noted here is, if achieving the vision is worth building the team, it is also worth risking the relationships. And yeah, like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, whoa. So then really, we really need to hold the vision at the center all the time, right? And I think that's probably fair if we compare that again to motherhood and kids. Like, what is our vision, right? What is our vision for our kids, for our family? Is it worth, giving, like, if there's a problem, we need to fix this problem, right? Because the greater vision is this. So therefore, I must do this if this is happening. So in that way, I guess, is that risking the relationship? Like, that immediate love or feeling may be a little yucky for a little while, right? When you're going through something with your kids.
Yeah.
But the vision you have for them, the purpose is so much bigger, right? It's not just today. It's 10 years, it's 15 years, right? Like, it's who do you want them to be? So I think, like, when you pull that back in to business, that's fair. That is hard, but that's fair, right? Like, what is your goal? And I think we're too soft. I mean, we can do things with love, right? We can do things with care. We can say things with love. But I think if we really want to see somebody achieve their goals, we're going to have to really, I don't want to use the word put pressure on, but what's a good way to say that? Like, it's a positive way. Maybe it is put pressure on. I guess if we go back to coaching, Amy, that, like, go ahead.
The word that comes to my mind is toughen up. And it's not toughen my kids up to help them grow and do the vision. It's toughen me up.
Yeah.
So that I can do that. And not just with my kids, but with my team. And you said your goal was?
Yeah.
Where are you at? what happened here. I'm in a group that I have this pretty little tracker sheet. And now before someone else has to be tough and ask how I'm doing on that, I'm going to find the sheet so I can scratch off dots.
Yeah, you're right. It's accountability, right? That's a good, it's accountability. Do we want to be held accountable? Do we want to hold our people accountable? Do we, like, are we holding ourselves accountable for our own goals? So like, that's what you're saying, right, Amy? Yeah, because you know, someone's coming knocking and it like, yeah. Go ahead, Sherry. I feel like you have something to say.
No, I think that's totally true. And the concept that both you and Amy were bringing is it does come back to accountability. And maybe when we are not being brave enough to help others hold themselves accountable, it's our own fear. It's us not the problem. And it's that maybe we aren't holding ourselves accountable, and therefore we're afraid to step out and hold somebody else accountable to their goals. And as a result, we allow the vision to falter. Yeah, Diana says care versus candor. Care matters, and without care, you don't get candor. But if you don't have candor, how do you go to the next level? Like, if you really want to go to the next level, how do you get to the next level unless someone can say, let's have a look at this, let's see what's happening, and let's find ways to build and support and learn.
Yeah. And maybe then we can have that question, like, if the struggle is, like, if there is struggle between that decision, right, or between that accountability, maybe we just ask the question again, like, is this really, like, do you want this, right? Yeah. Maybe we need to ask those questions, like, these were your goals. Do you still want this, right? Like, do you still see the vision, and do you still want this? Because, you know, if we go back to teams and sports, like, some kids quit the teams too, right?
Well,
because it was just too much, or for whatever reason, right?
And it wasn't their vision.
That's right.
It didn't matter enough to them for the team to move forward or to participate. If it was always easier to do something else today instead of going to practice.
You're right. The work was too hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they weren't interested in the work.
Yeah. My daughter quit basketball. Like, so my oldest, right? She's so good at basketball, but she's like, so grade 10, she played grade 10. And then grade 11, I don't remember if she played grade 11. I think this was her grade 12 year. She started out, she went to the first practice because, you know, her friends were playing. She came out, Mom, I quit. I hate running. Yeah. You know, like, well, I really, you know, it's good for you. I like it when you run. It's good. Like, it's good to stay physically fit, right? All of those things. But you know what? She's like, I can watch from the sidelines. It's fine. I'll cheer them on. So I think we have to recognize that too, right? Like, if their vision changes, you know, they may pull out.
And you're right, respecting that vision. And that's a great example, because it made me think of one of my kids, and it was volleyball, and it was in their last year. And it was a big deal because we're at a small school. And because this child had so many things on her plate, she chose that volleyball was not going to be on her plate because she had many other things that were really, really important. And that's like an overloaded plate. You can't do it all. Things start falling off. So she chose to not be involved in volleyball because these other things mattered more. That was her vision. It created a huge problem because it meant there wasn't enough for the volleyball team at school. It was a
Oh.
huge problem, and there was a lot of negativity involved. And I guess when I think about our teams, our Plexus teams, it's really respecting where people are at with their piece of the vision, because this may not be the season that they're going to play. No matter how good they are, no matter how much we want them to play, no matter
Right.
how much we want them to be all in, no matter
Yeah.
what we see for them and
Yeah, or
how
they are.
much potential and all the things, it may not be their season.
And so I think, yeah, that's important then to keep reminding them or asking them, right? If that growth isn't happening together, like we talked about,
Yeah.
then what's the holdup, right? Is it just more, do you need more training? Right? Are we missing some steps? Or is it this is not for you right now? Yeah.
And it might be that it is for you later.
Yeah.
It's maybe just a season,
Yeah, you're so right.
you
You're
know,
so
and,
right.
and we can hold the space for you, and that's okay.
Yeah. So one thing here I'm going to pull from the book, it says, building relationships and then risking them to advance the team creates tension for a leader. Yeah, we don't like that. We don't like that. But that, right? That tension will force you to make a choice to shrink the vision or to stretch the people to reach it. And that's where, so we're in tension and they're being stretched, and it's like, you really have to be compatible and you have to decide that this is our goal in order to make this work, because this is now hard on both sides, right? We're both in a hard. So it's about learning, but I think you can find joy in that and you can have fun with that. But it's going to take work, right? It's not going to be easy. But honestly, do we always need easy? I don't know.
And I think that's a perfect question. Is easy the goal? Like, is that our vision? And I mean,
Is that
he
going to
says,
make us better tomorrow, right? Just doing the easy thing today.
yeah. I mean, he says here, there is no progress without risk. Get used to it. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, even if we go back to the parenting example, I'm deciding to have a new baby. It's a risk. There's all the risks of the health. There's all the risks of the delivery. There's all the risks of the raising. I mean, there's a lot of risk. And then they think they can drive. And there's another new layer of risk. You know,
Yeah.
you decide to move out, live somewhere. Like, honestly, it's all a risk.
Life is, right?
All a risk.
Life is. Yeah.
But I do like what he says at the bottom here on page 124. He said the bottom line is you can slow down early in your leadership to build relationships on level 2, or you can skip ahead and go straight to level 3. But if you do, you're going to have to backtrack later to build the relationships. And you need to recognize it will slow your momentum. It can actually take you longer to build the team than if you did it the right way in the first place. And that's a reminder for me that everyone that joins the team starts with the building relationships. They don't drop straight into the production phase. Because if you don't do those relationships with each person as they come on, they're not ready. Those harder conversations don't happen.
And when you see things like huge growth all at once, like I remember, when we all had, I don't know how that happened. It's so weird, but you know what I'm talking about before I even say it. When we had this huge growth on everybody's team, it was amazing. It was overwhelming, but there was no way we could build a relationship with every single person immediately, right? So I think in that section, like in that instance, that would be an example of that moving straight to level 3, right? But then backtrack, and sometimes then you lose some too, right? And then it takes a little bit longer again to rebuild that. So I think, like it's an up and down. It can be an up and down too, right? So yeah.
Sometimes I think we judge ourselves with the wrong measuring sticks. And I don't have this all thought out, so it may sound a little messy. But just in general with Plexus, we tend to judge ourselves with how many new joins.
Mm.
Wonderful. We celebrate it. It's good. And it is good.
Yeah.
And then do we celebrate how many people are still working with the organization in 3 months? How many people have found some success toward their goals? But also, do we celebrate that somebody joins to start to try it? They may have some initial success, and maybe that's the limit of success they want, and they're done. Do we appreciate that we've offered people the tea, the coffee, the hot chocolate, and they've had some and they've liked it, but it's not what they want to drink forever and ever? They're going to drink some now, and maybe next year they'll have another little round where they drink some. And then maybe in another year, they'll have another little round where they'll have some. And then maybe they'll say, that stuff is actually pretty good. I'll maybe have it for a little longer this round. Like, do we actually appreciate everybody where they are with what we're offering? Or do we only recognize and appreciate when they fit into our little box of recognition?
Yeah, Diana, that's fair. Our goal isn't necessarily their goals, right? And that comes back to, the vision, right? Do we all have the same vision here? Yeah, that's so good. Because not everyone is coming in to build a business, right?
No.
And that when somebody does come in and they want, like you said, here and a little bit later, and maybe then like months from now, does that mean we're still working? Yes, right? Because we shared with that person and we're still supporting them as they do, right? So I like the idea that you still celebrate that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Because what is our vision?
Yeah.
Right. I think that really down to that. What is our vision?
And what is our scoreboard?
Mm-hmm.
Are we recognizing that it's not a flat, one-dimensional scoreboard? Are we appreciating that it's a multi-level scoreboard with additional dimensions in terms of who we are becoming, as well as the business piece of our vision?
Yeah, I'm seeing that more and more, actually. And it's because I think I'm choosing to grow, right? I'm choosing to want to be a better me than I was last year or 2 years ago, right? And I'm seeing that more and more. It's like, okay, what do I need? What can I change here,
right,
so that I can give there, right? Yeah. Totally. And I think like one of the things here too, at the end of this piece, it's talking about the company itself. And so I think we need to always remember to share the heart of the company. If we're back to talking like strictly Plexus, sharing the heart of the company and the good that it's doing. Like you could talk about Nourish One, right? Mary's Meals, those types of things. How our company is giving back, or like just even the sourcing and how good they are at corporate, like how good they are to the employees there, all of those things, right? Like, and just how they meet with us one-on-one too when we have the opportunity. What this says is, if people relate to the company they work for, if they form an emotional tie to it and buy into its dreams, they will pour their heart into making it better. So if they're pouring their heart into it, that means they have a vision. They have a vision for it too. So that's getting down to the heart, right? So the link is between the people and the company. And or sorry, the link between the people in the company is the leader.
Ah.
So that's us, right? So that's our job,
Yeah.
right? We are the face, the heart, and the hands of the company on a day-to-day basis. So if that leader connects and cares, that's what makes all the difference, right?
Yeah.
So there's that, sometimes there's that bless and release, right? That doesn't mean
Yeah.
you,
Totally.
it's just not, it's okay. It's okay, right? But you know what? Like if you've shared your heart, if you shared the heart of the company, if you know you've connected an emotional tie there, if you've just loved this person, right? Then you've made a connection that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've felt seen and heard, and that may be just exactly what they needed at this time in their life.
Exactly.
So as we we may not have many pages, Leona, but we
Yeah.
have a lot to say
I
about
just-
these pages.
I just realized it's 9:37 and I actually like the next section too, but okay.
Yeah, so
Fast.
let's go on to the guide to growing through level 2. And I just want to remind us all that it's not about not doing level 2. It's about growing a really healthy, strong level 2 characteristics, because that's part of who we are as we move forward. So the guide to growing through level 2 starts on page 126. And it starts with, be sure you have the right attitude toward people. How much you like people, how much they like you. And he says, here's the good news. You can control how much you like people in general. I mean, you can choose. And if you genuinely like people, they will find you to be likable. I was just listening to one of the diamonds here actually this morning, and her comment was, I realized I really didn't like people that much. And part of it was maybe I just wasn't as happy with me as I wanted to be. She said, I intentionally started to find ways to compliment others. Everything I found that I liked, genuinely liked about someone, I made a point to intentionally tell them. And in that conversation, one of the other people that was speaking said, yes, she said, I've had to do that with myself. She said, my mom, every time I said something negative about myself, she told me I was not to speak again until I could say 10 positive things about myself.
It didn't go through.
So it was interesting that joint piece of when you can say good things about yourself, you find it easy to say good things about others. And if that is an area that is a struggle or a challenge, or you feel that there's room for improvement, and we probably all have room for improvement in every area, so we'll just go with that, that intentionally appreciating something about someone around you is a move forward to growing through level 2. So in terms of a challenge for this week, my challenge would be to find someone to appreciate, say something you appreciate about them. And our children are such good examples, such good training grounds for us. Right, Michaela? They're such good training grounds. But when you do that, say something good to yourself. Say something you like about yourself too.
Yeah, Sherry, that's awesome. And what did Diana say? You can't love others if you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's true.
So good, Diana.
It's true. And some people aren't people, but it's having the right attitude, right? It's
Yeah.
again, it's focusing on that vision, and then, but it's making people a priority.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Number 2 is connect with yourself. So I had to go back and read a little bit because it's something that the book talked about in a previous section. So page 105 to 107 were the 5 components in there about, or was that these self-awareness, am I right? Is that those same ones?
Oh.
Yeah.
I think so.
Just to kind of dig through them a little bit deeper. They were back on page 105 to 107 too. But knowing, like, so liking yourself, knowing who you are, right? Knowing who you are, knowing your personality, your strengths, your weaknesses. We don't like to talk. Sometimes we can talk about our weaknesses much more easily than we can talk about our strengths too, right? So know your talents, know yourself, know your self-image, right? Deal with any personal issues you have, so you can think about yourself in a positive way. And that goes back to what Sherry was saying, you know, about loving yourself. If you can't think about yourself positively, you probably don't love yourself, right?
I guess and I'm
And-
just going to interject for a second, Leona, because I think that's just so important. What you said is that little piece about we see weaknesses in ourselves easier than strengths. But if that's the case, we're also looking for weaknesses in other people, because
yeah.
that's what validates us. It's okay because they don't do that good either. It's okay because they're really poor at that. Like that little piece is so critical.
Yeah, you're so right. Ooh. Self-honesty. So looking at yourself realistically and decide to face reality no matter how much it may hurt. Right? There are some things we need to change about ourselves. That's hard again, but that's a piece of the growth. That's a piece of growing, is realizing something, right? Same as a coach will tell a player, okay, you can't keep doing this. This is not good. You have to stop this, right? So my other daughter, who's grade 10, she's in basketball now, right? She keep getting fouls, right? Like, you cannot, like, the other team is scoring points because you're giving them free throws, and your mistakes are costing the team, right? So you have to figure out, what is it I'm doing that I have to change, that I have to be better at, so I can be a better teammate, better leader, whatever. And coaches have to do that too, right? Like, okay, when they realize they're coaching and, you know, this is not working, what can I do now to change how this team plays, right?
Yep.
What skills do I need to share with them, or what do I need to learn myself so I can pass on to them? So I guess that goes right along with self-improvement on the next one, right?
Yep.
And that's developing relationships, but I think that could go in multiple ways there. And then self-responsibility. So acknowledging that we're responsible for our own actions and attitudes, right? How we're looking at other people, how we're looking at ourselves, that we're responsible for ourselves.
Yeah, getting that clearer picture on self-awareness all the way around, I think.
Yeah.
And then being willing to do the work.
Yeah. And that's where it's hard.
Yeah, like I'm a prime example of I want to bring in all the information. Like, I want to consume the content. But the really hard work then is using the content to become different, to become that creator of the self you want to be. And that's the really hard work.
Yeah.
Every time I get to a little sticking spot, it's like, oh, I must need to know more. When the reality is, sometimes I just need to do more.
So
Practice.
accurate.
Yeah, I need to practice. Like, I know exactly how that game works on paper, but I don't ever play. And if I'm not playing, there's just nothing going to be good about me when I get on that team.
Yeah, then I may go sit on the sidelines and just cheer.
Yeah, maybe I'll just cheer. Yes.
But that's not what you want. You want to be in the game.
Yeah, I want to
Right?
be in the game. Yeah. And if I want to be in the game, I have to practice. And the practice is going to be messy. I don't
Yeah.
want it to be messy. I don't like messy practice.
Oh yeah. So good.
John Maxwell was just saying, of course,
Okay.
I've just come off of 3 days of John Maxwell, so I'm pretty inundated with all the things.
You are soaking it in. You're taking it in.
I'm just taking in the content. But his comment was failure and success are like this. You don't have success without failure. As a matter of fact, the more failure, the more success.
Mm.
You can have failure without success if you don't evaluate, understand, look for outside figure outables to get the value. But you don't get success without failure. And therefore, we need to celebrate the togetherness of it.
Okay, I'm
The-
going to give you a real life comparison again because
Yeah.
I'm in basketball. So we're in playoffs this weekend. So my comparison that came to mind was shooting free throws.
Mhm.
How many times are you going to fail? You're going to fail a lot. It's going to be pretty messy when you first, make that first attempt and that next attempt, and you're working all around the in the key there. Like you got to shoot from all levels or all areas, right? You got to make those. What about those 3-pointers? You're going to that's a whole lot of work. That looks pretty awful when you shoot
Start.
and
Yeah.
it doesn't even hit the backboard, right? Like it looks messy. It is messy and it's hard and you're going to fail a lot. You're going to fail a lot. But if you don't do that fail, you won't sink those shots because you'll know how to set yourself up. You'll find the positioning. You'll find your breathing, all of the things, right? You have to calm the brain. There's a bunch of things, the focus, right? But there's all of the pieces have to be there in order for you to make it.
Yeah.
But it's not without failure first. You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
I love that, Sherry. Thank you for sharing that.
And that's a beautiful example because when you failed enough, your muscles have learned the muscle memory. You figured out how you need to think when you go out there. That visualization of that ball actually going up and over and into.
Yeah.
The success.
And you know what not to do, right?
And you've
That's
learned what not
failure
to do. Yeah.
helps teach us is don't do this.
Yeah.
That does not work. Don't do it this way. Don't do it that way, right?
And
Yeah.
you learn that you don't go out there to make one of those free throws thinking about how annoyed you are at your little brother who just, gave you that look. Like,
Right,
that's not going to win the free throw.
right.
And sometimes we do that in Plexus. We go into doing the messaging or doing the work without having the right space in our attitude.
We haven't set ourselves up, right?
Yeah.
We haven't done we're in the wrong position, right?
Exactly. We're in the wrong
Yeah.
position.
You got the wrong shoes on, or you got
Yeah. Yeah.
you're just not in the right. Yeah.
We don't have the
We're
right,
different.
support system.
Yeah. So all of that, like the list of connecting with yourself, I think that's important, right? In all of that, if you don't understand yourself,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to find that success through the failure,
Absolutely.
right? You'll blame others or you'll do all the things, right?
Totally. It's so much
Instead of
easier if it's
that.
someone else's fault.
Always. Okay. Okay. We better
We need
move
to
on.
keep moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the third one here is understand where you're coming from. And I think we've kind of referred to that a little bit in the practice session here. Express value for each person on your team. And that's value that goes beyond that scoreboard that we talked about earlier. That's the value of showing up. That's the value of me seeing Linda's face on this Zoom every time. That value of showing up. Diana being here. We know she's here. We know she's listening. She's commenting. She's probably getting in her exercise too, which, you know, that double duty that she does just amazes me. You know, the value of Michaela needing her hair braided, but her mom's here listening. And, you know, we can ask Michaela for what she thinks about this too. But the value of being and being present, whether or not it's a scoreboard piece. The value of Cheryl hopping on, whether it's for 100% of the time or not. Because we can't always be present 100% of the time. 5 kids and 3 other businesses kind of put a kink in things sometimes. So as does basketball, right, Leona?
Yeah, you're right. So valuing each person, right? No
Yeah.
matter whatever it is that they bring,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So the challenge here, I think they gave us a challenge even this week. Yeah. Take some time and come up with positive things that you can honestly say about each person on your team. Then take the time during the next week to tell each person at least one positive thing about themselves. So Sherry just did that for some of you. So that's awesome. But yeah, I think that's important. That's something I'm going to actually just sit down. I'm going to do that today. I'm going to look through and make a note to do that. Either it's going to be finished today or something, but
Or it's on your work
have-
plan for this week.
yeah, it's on my work plan. So I love that. So then number 5 is evaluate where you are with your team. So again, I think this goes hand in hand with number 4. You can, you know, as you're going through who you have on your team, look at them, look at how much do you know them? Like, how well do you know them, right? How, like, outside of Plexus, outside of business, how well do you know them? What do they value, right? What are their concerns? What is their hope in life? So it's really getting to know them. If you don't know these things, we need to spend more time figuring that out, right? So it's just connecting.
And I think these are really good questions, Leona, because
Yeah.
if we're meeting new people to connect with Plexus, and have we asked that question,
Mhm.
what are you most worried about?
Mhm.
You know, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah. Yeah. These are great connecting questions. That's
Yeah.
so good. Beforehand.
Yeah,
Before
or
we're-
during, or wherever you are in the process. Yeah.
Totally. I love that.
And then we turn the page and we get to number 6, accept the whole person as part of leading.
Yeah.
Because we're not just about what we do with the business that we're connected with. We're about being whole people with kids, with challenges, with perhaps other expectations in our life.
And there'll always be some messy, right? There's always going to be some messy.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think so.
I guess that has to be, huh, Leona? Yeah.
So, right? You know, like, as much as we want there not to be, I think there's always going to be some little messy, just like those dust bunnies. They just come on over. They just show up. No one invited them, but there they are again,
Yeah.
you know? So
I thought, yeah.
yeah,
I
we
thought my
just have-
house was messy because I had all these kids. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was all about me.
Yeah. So just learning how to deal with it, right? Making a plan and figuring out how to handle those harder situations. Because when we're inviting people in, we're inviting all people in, right? We're not picking and choosing. You can't come in because you got baggage. Well, I got baggage. Everybody's got baggage,
Yeah.
right? So we have to know that we'll get probably into some messy at some point. So figuring that out. Yeah. But make fun a goal was number 7. And I like this one. So make it fun, right? It's not just task oriented or goal oriented, but make fun actually one of the goals for you and your team, right? For the team as a whole.
Totally. And I've got a person on my team who's incredible at that. And I'm actually going to ask her to unmute and speak because she's got a fun plan coming up that she wants to invite everybody to come to. So, Cheryl, you're on.
Thanks for
tell
the
us.
note. Well, I like to plan parties, but I'm not quite as coordinated as you are, Leona. So, sorry, but anyways, I'm not
got
crafty in the like centerpiece table things like that.
Oh,
But anyways, I'm pretty proud. I don't know how to say this without being pompous, but anyways, I'm pretty proud. We got custom made furniture out of the state. And so I don't have like a modern house like that you would find in the city, but I have a very modern ranch house that I think would actually pose for some nice pictures. And after COVID, I think everybody's due for some pictures, especially when we're trying to promote our business online. So I would like everyone to come to my house and don't judge the mess because it's not fully unpacked and we literally just sleep in this place, but I will get it coordinated enough to take pictures for next weekend. Or no, next weekend, 2 weeks away, the 26th. And so we're just gonna have some girl time. I'm not inviting any men on the team, sorry. And my husband will be gone. I'm gonna make, even though he's gonna want to be here to visit with Sherry and Amy, he's gonna have to go to his mother-in-law's for the day. And yeah, we're just gonna hang out and we'll probably have some fruit and veggie trays and just talk Plexus and take some pictures and yeah.
oh, Cheryl, I love that so much. Oh my goodness.
And I can't venture too far because I have a horse that's due that exact day. So there may be new babies and there may not be new babies on the farm.
Well, you'll have a
should
photographer
find
around,
out-
it sounds like, so.
Yeah.
But Leona is actually physically closer to you than we are.
Okay, where are you, Cheryl?
We are like an hour north of Regina. And so like 2 hours ish from Melfort. I just don't know how you would come. Like, would you go through Saskatoon or would you go through Humboldt?
No, you'll have to drop a pin.
Yeah, because yeah, anyways, because we're like 2.5 hours from Saskatoon just because it's not straight to our place from Saskatoon. But yeah, anyways.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's planning fun. I love that. And
So, yeah.
connection, right?
So,
And team
yeah.
building. And that's awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. That's so fun.
So this is where that's not my skill. I'm not strong, but I have a team member who's really strong there. And that's the team aspect. We are better together.
Love it. Totally.
So we are going to wrap up here just with the last ones are give people undivided attention and become your team's encourager in chief. Be sure to encourage. What did they say? No one ever feels over encouraged. We're all feeling under encouraged.
Especially now.
When it comes to doing the hard things, like cold messaging, I need a lot of push.
Yeah. Some things are hard. Yes. And when we know they're hard for us, we need to find ways then it's our responsibility in that self-awareness to find ways to reach out to get what we need to do what we need to do. So.
But then you have to be prepared for like what the feedback is. Like I've been trying to intentionally reach out to some friends and connect, and I did this week, and she thanked me and hugged me like when I dropped off her birthday gift or whatever. But then like 8 hours later, she sent me a text and she's like, did you know my mom was dying from cancer? Like, did you know that I just walk around crying all the time? And that's why like I haven't been wanting to visit with you. And I was like, oh, I can't do this. Like I just started bawling. I was like, how do I even reply to that? So yeah, you gotta kind of be prepared for all things.
You're right.
Yeah, and that is, it's the risk of relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, ladies. This has been just so good. Really appreciate everyone being here, all the contributions. I'm going to just stop our recording. Yes.